The morning was soft, quiet, almost hushed. Sunlight spilled gently across the backyard, painting golden streaks on the grass and the wooden railing of the porch. It was one of those rare Sundays when the world seemed to slow down, as if the day itself had taken a deep, calming breath. He leaned against the railing, coffee mug cupped between his hands. Steam rose in lazy swirls, curling into the crisp morning air. The warmth of the cup seeped into his fingers. Birds chirped in the distance. Leaves rustled with the slightest breeze. For a moment, he allowed himself to just breathe. Max, his golden retriever, padded alongside him. Each step was quiet, deliberate, paws pressing gently into the soft earth. Sunlight caught the fur on his back, making it glow in subtle, warm highlights. Max's nose twitched, taking in scents carried on the wind. Tail wagged slowly, not wildly, just enough to show his presence. He watched Max wander toward the old oak tree at the far edge of the yard. The dog stopped, nose close to the ground, and then dug. At first, he thought it was playful. Max loved to dig on mornings like this, chasing invisible treasures beneath the soil. But something felt different today. The movements weren't random. They were careful, precise, purposeful. Dirt flew up in small arcs with every pawing motion, but Max paused after each scrape, sniffing, circling, then returning to the same exact spot. His ears flicked at every sound, the distant bark of a neighbor's dog, the faint hum of a car down the street, but he never wavered from the patch of earth beneath him. Curiosity stirred in him. Slowly, he set down his coffee and crouched beside the dog. Fingers brushing against the soft grass, he observed Max more closely. The dog's eyes were steady, focused, almost knowing. He reached out, brushing a fingertip across the loose soil. It felt ordinary to the touch, but the faint scent that rose earthy, warm, slightly old, made him pause. Max wagged his tail slowly, nudging the dirt toward him with a gentle insistence. "What is it, boy?" he murmured, voice low, calm, soft. Max sat back slightly, chest rising with measured breaths, and looked up at him with eyes that seemed to speak without words. It wasn't excitement or fear, it was certainty. Purpose. Connection. The morning stretched around them. Light glinted on Max's fur, dancing with the shifting breeze. He felt a quiet tug in his chest, the kind that makes you sense that something small but important is waiting just beneath the surface. He leaned closer. Dirt clung to Max's paws, to the pads between his toes. The dog nudged the same spot again, sniffed carefully, then circled once more before pausing. The calmness of the morning, the warmth of the sunlight, the gentle rustle of leaves, even the faint aroma of coffee and earth, all of it seemed to heighten the moment. Max was trying to show him something. Something only he could see. Something the dog had already discovered, in his own quiet way. He chuckled softly. "You're serious about this, huh?" Max tilted his head, ears perked, as if to say, yes. "And you'll understand soon." Time seemed to slow. Every movement was small, meaningful. Every breath, every pause, carried weight. He felt the bond between them deepen, a silent conversation passing from dog to human, one that required no words at all. The sunlight shifted slightly, warming his shoulders. He noticed the soft shimmer of dust motes in the air, the way the shadows of leaves danced on the grass. Max was still focused, unshakable. And in that focus, he sensed something almost magical, trust. Trust that the dog had sensed something beyond ordinary understanding. He set his hands on the earth, letting his fingers sink lightly into the soil Max had disturbed. His heart beat a little faster, not from fear, but from wonder. This was curiosity of a different kind. Gentle. Slow. Intimate. A secret waiting to be uncovered, and he wasn't sure if he was ready, yet. Max wagged his tail just enough to reassure him. The dog's gaze never left that small patch of dirt. He looked calm, confident, connected. The morning's golden light seemed to shine a little brighter, embracing them both. He leaned back slightly, taking a soft breath, letting the moment linger. Max rested his head lightly on his paws for a second, eyes still fixed on the spot, chest rising and falling in quiet rhythm. And in that quiet, he realized something that made his chest tighten with anticipation. What the dog sensed would change everything. A soft smile tugged at his lips. He didn't know what lay beneath the soil yet, but the warm, cinematic magic of that morning told him this was important. Something small, something gentle, something extraordinary, and Max already knew. The backyard was quiet again, the sunlight painting long golden streaks on the grass. But now, it wasn't just an ordinary morning. It was the start of a mystery, one woven between a man, his dog, and a truth waiting patiently beneath the earth. He reached down to brush more loose soil aside, careful, deliberate. Max nudged his hand with a soft, reassuring touch of his nose. And in that small motion, he understood, they were in this together. Together, they would uncover what had been hidden. Together, they would find something that might just change everything. The morning sunlight had shifted slightly, casting long, soft shadows across the yard. He crouched beside Max, fingers brushing the loose soil, heart quietly racing with curiosity. Dirt clung to the dog's paws, and the earthy scent mingled with the faint aroma of dew-kissed grass. Each movement of Max was calm, purposeful, deliberate. There was no playfulness now, only a quiet, focused intent that seemed almost knowing. He leaned closer, his own breathing slowing to match the rhythm of the dog's. Max paused, ears flicking at every sound, the distant hum of traffic, the flutter of leaves, the faint call of a crow, but his attention never wavered from the small patch of earth beneath him. The subtlety of Max's movements struck him. Each pawing motion was measured, almost as if he were testing the soil, feeling its texture, sensing its story. He knelt lower, heart quietly tugging. The dog was trying to tell him something. Something beyond playful digging, something important. "Good boy," he murmured softly. "What is it you're showing me?" Max tilted his head, eyes bright, attentive, then returned to the earth. He pawed once, sniffed twice, and then nudged a small clump of soil with his nose. The precision in that gesture wasn't random. It was a gentle insistence. A quiet guidance towards something hidden. He leaned back slightly, watching the dog work. His mind began to notice the details, the way Max's tail wagged just enough to communicate reassurance, the subtle tension in his stance, the soft, intuitive glances toward his owner. Max wasn't just digging. Max was leading. A soft smile tugged at his lips. The dog had a message, and he could feel it in the way the morning air seemed to hold its breath around them. He took a small step closer, letting his fingers brush more soil aside. Max sat back slightly, chest rising slowly, then nudged the spot again with the tip of his nose. He stayed patient, waiting, as if inviting his human to see what he had already sensed. The connection between them felt almost tangible. Each subtle gesture of the dog carried weight, a language only the two of them understood. It was the kind of moment that made the world slow, that made even the soft rustle of leaves seem meaningful. "All right, let's see," he whispered. Fingers pressed lightly into the earth. The soil was cool and slightly damp beneath his touch. Max circled once, sniffing, then returned to his spot, nudging again, patient and deliberate. It was extraordinary how calm he remained. He could feel the intelligence in the dog's actions, the quiet certainty that this moment, this patch of soil, held something special. Something hidden. Something that mattered. The morning stretched around them. The golden light of the sun bathed the yard in warmth, dust motes dancing lazily in the air. Max's fur shimmered like threads of gold. He pawed once more, then stepped back, eyes meeting his owner's with quiet intensity. The dog wasn't asking. He was showing. And he understood, in a way the human couldn't fully articulate, that Max already knew what lay beneath. He took a slow breath, letting the moment expand. It wasn't excitement or fear, it was wonder. Pure, quiet wonder. The kind that makes you feel small, yet profoundly connected to something bigger than yourself. Max's tail wagged softly. He pawed gently, nudging his owner's hand toward the spot. It was almost as if he were saying, "Trust me." You'll see. It's here. He smiled again, heart swelling. The dog's intuition was palpable, almost magical. Every detail, the texture of the soil, the glint of sunlight on Max's coat, the gentle hush of morning made him feel that they were on the edge of something remarkable. He knelt fully now, brushing aside more dirt as Max watched patiently, occasionally nudging, occasionally tilting his head in gentle encouragement. There was no rush. No urgency. Just the steady rhythm of discovery. Okay. I see you, he whispered. I trust you. Max's ears flicked forward, a subtle acknowledgement, before returning to the soil. He pawed carefully, sniffed, then circled the spot again. It was deliberate, intentional, like a soft, guiding hand from one soul to another. The warmth of the sun, the gentle rustle of leaves, the earthy smell of dirt and grass, the soft breath of the dog, it all came together in a moment of quiet intimacy. Max's intuition wasn't loud or dramatic. It was gentle, precise, and profound. He felt his chest tighten not with fear, but with awe. Every subtle gesture of the dog spoke of understanding, of connection, of a trust that words could never capture. And then, for a heartbeat, he simply watched. Max nudged one more small mound of soil, pawed lightly, then sat back. Chest rising slowly, eyes meeting his. That gaze, so steady, so certain, made him feel that this was the start of something extraordinary. Something that had been waiting beneath the earth, and had chosen Max to guide him to it. A soft smile tugged at his lips again. He let himself linger in the moment, letting the warm morning light and the quiet presence of the dog fill him with a calm, profound anticipation. This wasn't just a dig. This wasn't just curiosity. This was intuition. Gentle. Patient. Purposeful. And the truth of what Max had sensed was waiting to reveal itself. He stayed crouched beside Max, letting the morning stretch around them. The sun had climbed higher now, spilling warmer light across the yard. Shadows shifted lazily over the grass, dancing gently as the breeze passed through the leaves of the old oak tree. Max continued his quiet work, nose pressed to the ground, paws moving with careful precision. He didn't rush. Every motion was measured, every sniff deliberate. And with each moment, the human's curiosity grew deeper, heavier, like a soft tug at his chest that refused to be ignored. He watched closely, noticing things he hadn't before. The way Max paused mid-pawing, tilting his head as though listening to something beyond sound. The subtle way his tail wagged, not wildly, not playfully, but as a signal, gentle and steady, guiding him. The small scratches and nudges Max made were purposeful, as if the dog knew the secrets hidden beneath the soil. He leaned closer, resting one hand lightly on the grass, trying to make sense of the dog's focus. Max looked up briefly, eyes bright, almost challenging him, "Pay attention. Look carefully. Don't miss it." His mind hummed with questions. Why here? Why now? Max had dug in the yard many times before, yet this felt different. This wasn't random, playful digging, it was a quiet investigation, guided by intuition, by a sense of importance the human couldn't yet grasp. The morning sounds filled the space around him, birds calling softly, the faint hum of distant cars, leaves brushing against one another. Yet all he could focus on was Max. "All right, boy. I'm watching," he whispered, voice low and calm. "Show me." Max's ears flicked, tail wagged gently, and he nudged the dirt once more with his nose. His gaze stayed locked on the same spot, patient, insistent. The human's curiosity deepened. He crouched lower, brushing aside more soil, allowing the dog to lead. Every pawing motion Max made seemed like a hint, a guidepost, a gentle clue. And with every gentle nudge, every careful sniff, he felt the bond between them stretch and strengthen. He had always known Max was smart, loyal, playful. But this was something different. Something quieter, subtler, yet profoundly powerful. Max wasn't just digging, he was guiding, pointing toward something that had been waiting for them. Something hidden. Something meaningful. A soft smile curved his lips. He reached down and let his fingers trace the edges of the loose dirt. The soil was cool, slightly damp, faintly fragrant with the scent of the earth itself. He could almost feel the story beneath it, a tale waiting for him to uncover. He glanced at Max again. The dog sat back for a moment, chest rising and falling in calm, measured breaths. Then he nudged the spot with his nose, as if to say, "It's here. Look closer. You'll see." The human's chest tightened with anticipation. There was a quiet magic in this moment. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a soft, steady pull of wonder that comes from trusting the instincts of a being who knows more than you do. He leaned closer, brushing more dirt aside, letting Max guide his hands. The dog's intuitive gestures were so subtle, so precise, that it felt like following a map made of instinct, laid out gently in the earth. For a long moment, they worked in silence together. No words were needed. The connection between them was enough. Max pawed gently, nudged, sniffed, and watched his human with quiet expectation. He could feel the tug of curiosity growing into something more, something warm, suspenseful, yet entirely safe. Every small discovery, every subtle movement Max made, added a layer to the mystery. He wasn't just uncovering soil, he was uncovering a story. A hidden story that Max had sensed long before he had. The morning light shifted again, golden hues spilling across the yard, catching on Max's fur and turning it into a halo of soft warmth. He reached down, brushing aside more dirt carefully, letting the dog's actions guide him, letting his own hands follow the rhythm of Max's intuition. And then it struck him, this wasn't about the soil itself. This wasn't just a buried object. It was about the connection. About trust. About the quiet moments when a dog's understanding surpasses words. About the invisible thread between them that made him feel guided, understood, and deeply, quietly moved. Max nudged again, small but deliberate. The dog's gaze never wavered, never flickered. Patient. Steady. Certain. His chest tightened. He realized that whatever lay beneath the earth, Max already knew its importance. And he would follow, guided by the dog's gentle intuition, toward a revelation that would touch his heart in ways he hadn't imagined. The yard was still again, except for the quiet sounds of their shared movement, the scraping of paws, the soft rustle of soil, the gentle inhaling of air. He leaned back slightly, smiling to himself. Max had led him to this moment. Not with urgency. Not with excitement. But with calm, quiet purpose. And the human knew, with a certainty he hadn't felt before, that the answer was near. That the hidden secret beneath the soil was waiting, and that Max had brought him here, patiently, intuitively, with trust and love guiding every movement. He let himself linger in the moment, breathing in the warmth of the morning, the smell of earth, the soft light on Max's fur. Curiosity had grown into wonder. Observation had grown into understanding. And he could feel the story beginning to reveal itself, one subtle paw step at a time. The gentle mystery of the morning had only just begun. And he realized, quietly, with a smile tugging at his lips. He had never felt closer to Max. Never more connected. And the truth beneath the soil would soon be revealed. The morning had softened into late day, sunlight now warm and golden, spilling across the yard and catching in Max's fur like strands of spun gold. He sat back on his heels for a moment, letting the calm of the afternoon wash over him. Birds had quieted, leaves rustled softly, and the distant hum of the neighborhood was gentle, almost comforting. Max paused, chest rising and falling in measured breaths, his eyes still fixed on the small mound of earth they had been focused on all morning. He reached down and brushed his fingers lightly over the dirt, careful not to disturb it too much. Max nudged his hand with a soft touch of his nose, then stepped back, tail wagging slowly. There was patience in the dog's gaze, a quiet insistence that they take this moment together, that nothing needed to be rushed. For a long moment, he simply watched Max, feeling a warm swell of emotion. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was something deeper. A connection that had been growing quietly, imperceptibly, now blossomed fully in the soft afternoon light. Max tilted his head slightly, as though reading his thoughts. The way the dog moved, deliberate, intuitive, steady, felt like a gentle hand guiding him not just toward a discovery in the soil, but toward understanding. He chuckled softly, a quiet, reflective sound. "You always know, don't you, boy?" Max responded with a slow wag of the tail, then pawed lightly at the earth. The motion wasn't frantic or playful. It was careful, patient, almost reverent, as if he understood the importance of what lay beneath. The human let himself kneel fully, brushing more dirt aside, letting Max guide his hands with nudges and gentle pawing. Each movement felt deliberate, precise, a silent conversation that spoke louder than words. The bond between them deepened in those quiet moments. He noticed details he hadn't before, the soft shimmer of light on Max's fur, the gentle rise and fall of his chest, the way his eyes seemed to convey understanding and trust simultaneously. It was almost as if Max was saying, "We're in this together. Don't worry. I've got you." A warm smile tugged at his lips. He leaned back slightly, breathing in the earthy aroma of the soil, the fresh scent of grass, and the subtle warmth of sunlight. Every sense seemed heightened in Max's presence. Time itself seemed to slow. The usual rush of thoughts and distractions faded away, leaving only the gentle rhythm of shared focus. Max pawed once more, nudging lightly, then looked up at him, ears flicked in quiet encouragement. He felt a soft pressure in his chest, a quiet realization that this wasn't just about uncovering something in the dirt. It was about connection. About trust. About the quiet, unwavering companionship that only a dog like Max could offer. He reached down, brushing the last loose dirt aside with careful, deliberate movements. Max circled once, sniffing the small patch of earth, then returned to sit beside him. His eyes were steady, patient, full of quiet assurance. The human leaned closer, letting his forehead almost touch the ground, and whispered, "I see you, Max. I trust you." Max responded with a soft, almost imperceptible nudge of his nose against the back of his hand. It was a gesture so small, yet it carried the weight of understanding, of silent guidance, of a bond that had grown stronger with every shared moment. The afternoon stretched lazily around them. Sunlight spilled through the branches of the oak tree, casting dappled patterns on the grass. Dust motes floated in the warm glow, dancing gently in the air. He could feel the subtle heartbeat of the earth beneath his fingers, the steady, patient presence of Max at his side. It was in this quiet, reflective space that he realized how much he had come to rely on the dog, not just for companionship, but for guidance, for insight, for the quiet reassurance that comes from being seen and understood completely. Max pawed the earth lightly one more time, nudging toward a small, barely visible indentation in the soil. His gaze met his owner's, steady and certain. The human's heart swelled. There was an unspoken message in that look: pay attention. You're ready now. He took a deep breath, letting the warmth of the sun fill his lungs, letting the steady rhythm of the moment sink into his chest. The connection between them wasn't just emotional, it was almost tactile, a thread woven between human and dog that carried trust, intuition, and love. And in that thread, he felt a quiet certainty. Max had led him to this moment not by chance, not by accident, but by purpose. He leaned closer, brushing aside the last clump of loose soil, letting his fingers trace the indentation that Max had signaled. The dog nudged gently with his nose again, tail wagging slowly, patiently, with calm encouragement. It was the kind of moment that made time seem irrelevant. Every sound of the rustle of leaves, the distant bird calls, the faint hum of life beyond the yard faded into the background. There was only Max, only the shared focus, only the quiet anticipation of what might lie beneath. He rested his hand on the dog's head, feeling the warmth of fur under his fingers, the steady, calm presence of a companion who understood more than he could articulate. For a long moment, they stayed like that, connected in silence. Then Max gave a soft, deliberate pawing motion toward the indentation once more, a gentle insistence that the human finally understood. It was time to uncover the secret. A soft smile spread across his face. His chest swelled with emotion, warmth, and gratitude. He leaned in closer, feeling the subtle pulse of anticipation in the air, in Max, and in himself. And in that golden afternoon light, he realized something profound. It wasn't just the mystery beneath the soil that mattered. It was this, the bond, the trust, the quiet, unwavering connection between a man and his dog. And whatever lay hidden, they would discover it together. The sun had shifted lower now, soft golden rays stretching across the backyard and casting long shadows over the grass. He knelt beside Max, fingers brushing away the final layers of loose soil. The air was still, warm, and heavy with quiet anticipation. Max paused mid-paw, nose hovering just above the small depression in the ground, eyes steady and intent. He leaned closer, heart quietly fluttering. Every subtle motion of Max spoke volumes. There was patience in the dog's gaze, a calm insistence, a gentle guidance toward what lay beneath the surface. "All right, boy, show me," he whispered softly, voice low and calm. Max nudged the edge of the soil with his nose. Dirt crumbled slowly, revealing the faint outline of something beneath. He held his breath, careful not to disturb the moment. Max stepped back slightly, tail wagging slowly, as though saying, "Take your time. It's here. You'll see." The sunlight caught on a small, weathered shape peeking out from the earth. He reached down cautiously, fingertips brushing the top layer, and felt the texture rough, slightly smooth, almost familiar. Max circled once, sniffing, then returned to sit beside him, eyes locked on his human's face. The dog's quiet focus made him feel steady, grounded. He drew a slow breath, savoring the warmth of the sun, the earthy scent of the soil, the gentle companionship of Max at his side. "Okay. I think I see it," he murmured, brushing more dirt away. Small fragments of the buried object began to emerge, catching glimmers of sunlight as he worked. Max pawed gently at the soil, nudging pieces aside with patient precision. He wasn't rushing. He didn't need to. His calm certainty was contagious. He felt himself slowing down, letting each movement be deliberate, each breath measured. As more of the object became visible, a soft smile spread across his face. It was old, yes, weathered by time, but there was a sense of care, of importance in the way it had been placed here. Something meant to be discovered carefully, slowly, intentionally. He paused, brushing away the last clump of dirt. Max's tail wagged gently, eyes bright, attentive. It was almost as if the dog was quietly saying, "This is it. You found it." The object, now mostly uncovered, revealed itself as a small, worn wooden box. Its surface was rough, edges softened by time and soil. Yet even in its age, there was a quiet beauty in its design, the way the sunlight kissed its carved details, the way it seemed to hum with a hidden story. He picked it up carefully, feeling the weight in his hands. The texture was warm and familiar, like holding a piece of history that had been waiting for this exact moment to be found. Max nudged the box gently with his nose, almost reverently, then sat back, chest rising slowly, tail wagging in soft encouragement. His eyes met his human's, steady and calm, full of pride and quiet joy. He smiled again, heart swelling. The connection between them, this silent, intuitive bond, was the reason he had found it. Max had known. Max had guided him here with patience and care. He set the box on the grass, brushing the remaining soil from its surface. The golden afternoon light made it glow softly, highlighting the carved patterns, the subtle imperfections, the history it carried. For a moment, he simply sat back, letting the discovery sink in. Max rested his head on his paws, watching patiently, offering quiet reassurance. The bond between them felt stronger than ever. "Good boy, you knew all along, didn't you?" he whispered, reaching down to scratch behind Max's ears. The dog leaned into his touch, eyes closing briefly in contentment. He opened the box slowly, careful to preserve the anticipation. Inside, nestled in soft cloth, were a few old photographs, faded letters, and a small trinket, a delicate, handcrafted charm. Each piece carried a story, memories carefully preserved, waiting to be found. He picked up a photograph, brushing his fingers gently across the faded image. It was of a family long ago, smiles frozen in time, laughter captured in sepia tones. A warmth spread through his chest, quiet and profound. Max nudged his hand, reminding him to stay present, to share this moment together. The letters were tied with a soft ribbon, delicate paper worn at the edges. He untied them slowly, reading the gentle cursive lines, feeling the love and care of someone who had placed them here, knowing one day, someone would uncover their story. Max stayed close, chest rising slowly, eyes bright and calm. Every so often, he nudged the box or pawed lightly at the letters, as if to guide his human through the discovery. It wasn't just the contents of the box that mattered. It was the quiet, unspoken understanding between them. He leaned back, letting the warm sunlight wash over them both. The dog had led him here with intuition, patience, and trust. And in return, he felt a deep, quiet gratitude not just for the discovery, but for Max, for the bond, for the gentle revelation that had unfolded before him. The golden light lingered as he carefully placed the letters and photographs back in the box. Max nudged it once more with his nose, tail wagging softly, eye steady. He knew they had found something important. Something meaningful. Something beautiful. And in that warm, gentle afternoon, he realized the truth. It wasn't just the object that mattered. It was the journey. The quiet guidance. The trust. The connection. Max had shown him that some mysteries aren't just to be solved, they are to be experienced, together. He smiled softly, reaching down to scratch Max behind the ears again. The dog leaned into the touch, tail wagging slowly. And for the first time that day, he allowed himself to fully feel it, the quiet joy of discovery, and the unshakable warmth of a bond that would never fade. The late afternoon light had begun to soften, spilling a warm, golden haze across the yard. Shadows stretched long over the grass, mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves in the oak tree. He sat cross-legged beside Max, holding the wooden box carefully in his hands. Each photograph, each letter, each small trinket seemed to carry a whisper from the past, a story waiting to be understood. Max rested his head lightly on his paws, eyes bright, watching every subtle movement. He unfolded one of the letters, the edges worn and delicate. The cursive handwriting, faded with time, seemed to speak directly to him. Every word was gentle, filled with warmth and care, as if the writer had known someone would one day read these words and feel the same connection they had once felt. Max nudged his hand softly with his nose, and he realized this moment wasn't just about discovering the contents of the box. It was about feeling them, understanding them, and honoring the emotions woven into each item. He paused, letting his fingers hover over a photograph. A family smiling under the sunlight, children playing, laughter frozen in time. There was love in the image, quiet but powerful. His chest tightened with a soft ache, a mix of awe and tenderness that made him catch his breath. Max shifted closer, pressing gently against his side. The dog's calm presence reminded him that he wasn't alone in feeling the weight of this discovery. Together, they were sharing this moment, the human, uncovering the history, and the dog, guiding him with quiet intuition. He picked up the small trinket next. It was simple, handcrafted, worn smooth by years of handling. But in its simplicity, it carried a profound meaning, a symbol of memory, love, and continuity. The significance was clear now, though it had taken the gentle patience of Max to reveal it. The letters told the story of a family who had once lived here long ago. They spoke of ordinary moments filled with love, small acts of kindness, and the quiet beauty of life. The more he read, the more he felt the depth of the human experience contained in these simple words. And with every line, he felt Max's presence more keenly, as if the dog understood the emotions better than any human could. A soft warmth spread through his chest, a blend of nostalgia, gratitude, and connection. He realized that Max had led him not just to the box, but to the essence of its story, the lives, the love, and the care that had once filled this home. He leaned back slightly, holding the trinket gently, and let the sun wash over him. Max rested his head on his shoulder, tail wagging slowly, eyes steady. The dog's quiet, intuitive presence reminded him that some things in life are best felt, not explained. A gentle tear slid down his cheek. Not from sadness, but from recognition. Recognition of love preserved, of trust honored, and of a bond between past and present, human and dog, that transcended words. Max nudged the box again, softly, almost reverently. It was as if he were reminding his human to honor the moment, to feel it fully, and to carry its meaning forward. He whispered, "I understand now. You were showing me more than the box, weren't you, Max?" The dog wagged his tail slowly, as if to confirm. There was no need for words. The emotional truth of the discovery resonated in the quiet rhythm of their connection. He spent the next few minutes carefully placing the letters, photographs, and trinket back inside the box. Each item returned gently to its place, as though they had always belonged there. Max sat quietly, watching, offering calm reassurance with every small movement. He closed the lid slowly, feeling the weight of the past and present together. The box was no longer just an object, it had become a vessel of memory, emotion, and connection. And it was Max, with his quiet intuition, who had led him to this understanding. The sunlight shifted again, casting a warm glow over the yard. He took a deep breath, letting the moment sink into his chest. He felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the discovery itself, but for the dog who had guided him, patiently and intuitively, every step of the way. He looked down at Max, meeting his steady, bright eyes. "Thank you, boy," he murmured softly. "I couldn't have done this without you." Max responded with a gentle nudge of his nose against the human's hand, tail wagging slowly. It was a quiet affirmation of the bond they shared, of the trust that had brought them to this emotional turning point. The golden light bathed them both, wrapping them in warmth. In that quiet, reflective moment, he realized something important. Sometimes, the most profound discoveries are not the objects we unearth, but the lessons we learn and the connections we deepen along the way. And he knew, with a quiet certainty, that this moment, the box, the letters, the trinket, and Max's gentle guidance would stay with him forever. Because the truth of what they had uncovered wasn't just in the soil. It was in the bond. In the trust. In the quiet intuition of a dog who had led him to a discovery far greater than anything he could have imagined. And for the first time that afternoon, he allowed himself to fully feel it, all of it, the wonder, the warmth, the gentle revelation. Max rested his head lightly on his knee, and he stroked his fur, heart full. Together, they had reached a turning point. And now, the story of the past was ready to unfold completely, in the quiet, heart-touching truth waiting to be revealed. The sun was beginning its slow descent, casting long golden streaks across the yard. Shadows stretched lazily over the grass, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the oak tree made the moment feel almost sacred. He knelt beside Max, holding the wooden box carefully. Each item within it, the letters, the photographs, the trinket, seemed to pulse with quiet significance. And now, after following the dog's gentle guidance for hours, he finally began to understand the full story. He picked up one of the letters again, reading slowly, letting each word sink in. The words told of love, of ordinary days made extraordinary by care, laughter, and connection. They spoke of family moments, shared joys, and even small sorrows, preserved gently in handwriting that had survived the years. Max nudged his hand softly with his nose, and he realized the dog had sensed all this. Max had known there was meaning buried beneath the soil, a truth that needed to be discovered slowly, carefully, intentionally. And together, they had done it. He opened the trinket, the small handcrafted charm nestled inside. It was delicate, yet it carried a weight far greater than its size suggested. It was a symbol of memory and continuity, a reminder that even the smallest objects could hold immense meaning. A soft warmth spread through his chest. He looked at Max, eyes meeting his steady, patient gaze. The dog had guided him, patiently and intuitively, towards something far more beautiful than he could have imagined. This is incredible," he whispered, voice low, almost reverent. "You knew, didn't you, Max? You knew it was special." Max wagged his tail slowly, resting his head lightly against his human's knee, as if affirming the truth in silence. He studied the photographs again, tracing the faded smiles with his fingers. There was a family in each image, frozen in quiet moments of joy, love, and togetherness. And he realized the box wasn't just a collection of objects. It was a testament. A story preserved by someone who had understood the value of memory, care, and connection. He leaned back slightly, letting the golden sunlight bathe them both. Max stayed close, chest rising slowly, tail wagging softly, eyes unwavering. The dog had led him not just to a box buried in the soil, but to the heart of something much larger, the truth of love, patience, and quiet devotion. He picked up one of the letters and read aloud softly, letting the words flow over them, small gestures, small moments, captured for someone who would understand. And now, he understood. Every letter, every photograph, every object in that box carried a message, a story of warmth, trust, and care preserved across time. Max nudged the letter gently with his nose, drawing his attention back to the dog. His gaze met the steady eyes of his companion, and he felt a deep gratitude welling in his chest. The bond between them had grown stronger through this journey. It wasn't just about discovering the box, it was about trust, intuition, and connection. He smiled softly. "You guided me here, to all of this. To the story. To the truth. And I can't thank you enough, boy." Max wagged his tail gently, leaning into the touch, as if to say, "We discovered it together." The warmth of the golden afternoon light seemed to linger longer, embracing them both as he carefully placed the letters and trinket back into the box. The photographs glimmered faintly in the sunlight, as though acknowledging the significance of being found and understood. He leaned back, breathing slowly, letting the moment sink in. There was a profound realization in his chest. Some discoveries aren't about what is buried, they're about what is revealed in the heart. And this was exactly that. Max pawed lightly at the box, nudging it toward him, a soft insistence that they honor the story. He smiled, letting his hand brush over the dog's golden fur. The bond between them felt deeper, warmer, and infinitely more meaningful than he could have imagined just that morning. He looked once more at the trinket, the letters, and the photographs. The heart-touching truth was clear: the box had preserved a life's worth of love, care, and connection, waiting for someone to uncover it with patience and understanding. Max had known all along. Max had led him gently to this revelation. A quiet tear slid down his cheek, not from sadness, but from awe and gratitude. The truth of what lay beneath the soil, and the story it carried, had touched him profoundly. He leaned over to scratch Max behind the ears. "We did this together, didn't we, boy?" he whispered. The dog leaned into the gesture, tail wagging slowly, chest rising and falling in calm rhythm. The sun dipped lower, bathing the yard in soft amber light. Shadows danced across the grass, and for a moment, the world felt suspended, quiet, warm, and perfectly still. He held the box in his hands, Max at his side, and felt a sense of closure, connection, and love that was almost tangible. The discovery had not only revealed the story of the past but had strengthened their bond. Max's intuition had guided him to something far beyond the soil, something emotional, heartfelt, and beautiful. He smiled again, letting the warmth of the sun and the presence of his dog fill him completely. The heart-touching truth of the buried box was no longer a secret. It was a lesson in patience, trust, and love. And he knew, with quiet certainty, that this moment, this bond, and this revelation would stay with him forever. Max rested his head against his knee, tail wagging slowly, eyes calm and bright. Together, they had uncovered more than a buried box, they had uncovered a story of the heart. And in the golden glow of the late afternoon, he realized something even more profound. The truth Max had led him to was more beautiful than anyone could have imagined. The sun had begun to dip low, painting the yard in soft shades of amber and rose. Shadows stretched lazily across the grass, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the oak tree seemed to hum a quiet farewell to the day. He knelt beside Max one last time, the wooden box resting safely in his hands. Its contents, letters, photographs, and the small handcrafted trinket had revealed a story of love, care, and memory that reached across time. And now, with Max at his side, he finally felt the full weight of that discovery settle warmly in his chest. Max rested his head on his paws, eyes calm and bright, tail wagging slowly. The dog had guided him patiently and intuitively through every step of this journey, and now he seemed to bask in the quiet satisfaction of a job completed. He smiled softly, brushing his hand along Max's golden fur. "We did it, boy. We found it. We understood it. Together." The dog lifted his head briefly, nuzzling against his hand, a gentle reminder that this moment wasn't just about the discovery, it was about connection, trust, and the quiet joy of shared understanding. He set the box down carefully on the porch, its presence now a comforting part of their home. He leaned back slightly, letting the warmth of the sunset wash over them. The golden light reflected off Max's fur, making it glow like threads of sunlight woven into the world. For a long moment, he simply sat there, taking in the calm, the quiet, the stillness. There was no rush, no urgency. Just the gentle rhythm of life, the soft beating of his own heart, and the steady, reassuring presence of Max by his side. He thought about the journey that had brought them here, the small nudges, the careful pawing, the silent guidance. Max's intuition had led him not just to a buried box, but to a deeper understanding of patience, empathy, and connection. Every photograph, every letter, every tiny trinket in that box carried a lesson. Love endures. Trust matters. Quiet guidance is sometimes more powerful than words. And with Max, he had experienced all of it firsthand. He leaned over and scratched behind Max's ears, feeling the warmth of the dog under his fingers. "You knew all along, didn't you?" he murmured, voice soft and reflective. Max leaned into the touch, tail wagging slowly, eye steady. The air was filled with a gentle calm. The yard smelled faintly of earth, grass, and the lingering warmth of sunlight. Birds called softly in the distance, and the faint hum of the neighborhood blended into the golden tranquility of the evening. He picked up one of the letters again, reading a single line aloud softly. "Love is preserved not in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments that touch the heart." He smiled, letting the words sink into him. That was the truth of what they had discovered. It wasn't just the physical items buried in the earth. It was the intangible story, preserved through intention, trust, and care, and brought to light by a dog's gentle intuition. Max nudged the letter gently with his nose, as if to remind him that the story didn't just belong to the past, it belonged to them now. To him and to the dog who had guided him with unwavering patience and love. He closed the box one final time, feeling the weight of the journey and the warmth of connection between them. Together, they had uncovered something far greater than memories. They had uncovered understanding, trust, and the quiet power of shared purpose. He leaned back, letting the soft light of the sunset warm his shoulders. Max rested against his side, chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. They were silent together, yet in that silence, there was everything: love, companionship, and the quiet closure of a journey shared. The golden glow of the evening seemed to linger, wrapping them both in a soft, cinematic embrace. And he realized something profound: the true treasure wasn't in the box. It was in the bond, in the trust, and in the moments of quiet understanding that Max had guided him through. He smiled again, brushing Max's fur one last time. "Thank you, boy. For everything." Max leaned into him, tail wagging softly, eyes bright and steady. And in that shared moment, he knew the story had come full circle. The mystery had been uncovered. The emotional journey complete. And the bond between human and dog had grown stronger, warmer, and more profound than ever. He sat back, watching the sun sink lower, bathing the yard in deep amber and rose. Max rested his head on his paws again, eyes half closed in contentment. They had shared a story, discovered a truth, and felt a connection that would last far longer than the day, the box, or even the photographs. It was quiet now. Safe. Warm. Perfectly whole. And as the sun disappeared behind the horizon, he whispered softly to Max, "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together, just like this." The dog wagged his tail slowly, a gentle affirmation of trust, love, and companionship. And in that soft, golden twilight, he understood the full meaning of the day. Some discoveries aren't about what's buried. They're about what's revealed in the heart. And some bonds are truly unbreakable.